We are going to work on a very simple access database. It allows you to schedule 30-minute appointments for healthcare specialists or any kind of specialist who deal with clients or patients. I just used a patient kind of database. In the background are 3 very simple tables. They should be much more extensive. You see that there is a table for doctor information, the name of the doctor. Everyone has an ID, of course. At what time does that doctor start in the morning? What is his or her break time, and what is the end time? All our appointments are 30 minutes. If you want that to be a variable, the code is going to be much more extensive. Every doctor has multiple appointments based on the doctor's ID, client ID, for there is also a clients table. There are many clients. Every client can have multiple appointments. Create a form. I did that already for you. You have to create it. And it looks like this. That's the main form based on the table schedule. There is a subform based on the table appointments. And the connection between the two is the doctor's ID. So when I'm looking at Dr. 1, all the appointments should be for Dr. 1. Here are the client names. The client names come from the table clients. And what we are going to do now is the following. We are going to make sure that we get here a drop-down box that shows us all the available appointment times that are still available on, for instance, 7/11/2013. Here is the list. Notice that start time is the first appointment. The end time is a half hour before the end time. The last appointment, the break is at 12. So there are no appointments between 12 and 12:30. We assume that there is a half-hour break. And finally, you have to realize that if there is already an appointment at 10 o'clock on that date, the 10 o'clock slot is gone. We do that in the enter event. Then once we choose a new appointment date for a certain client, then we place that new appointment in the subform, and we do that for the after update event when this updates. It's a new record, and we put on that same date that appointment of 2 o'clock. We look in the list of clients. We choose one of them. If it's a new client, we type a new client. How can we discover it's a new client? Because that person is not in the list. Our client list is very primitive, of course. So how are we going to do all of this in VBA? We are going to use the enter event of the combo box. And we type in there the following code. It's the enter event. We declare a few variables. The important one is the ORS. That is an object type variable. That's why I use the character O, lowercase. And it has to be of the DAO record set type. We declare an SQL string, a variable of the date type, 2 more of the date type. We set the combo box row source type to a value list. We empty it from previous entries, so each time we get a fresh list. If the start button or box, text box, has nothing in it, then we exit the sub. Otherwise, we put that start date in the variable I, which is of the date type. If this happens to be a new record, then we have to first save that record. At any time, we are going to create an SQL statement. From the query subform appoints. It was the only query in the database where the doctor's ID is the same as the ID in the main form, and where the appointment date is the same as in the main form's text appoint date. Because these dates are used in a string, we have to put a pound sign before it and a pound sign at the end. Then we make ORS, the variable of the object type DAO record set, to point to a new record set that we open in the current database based on that SQL that we just determined. We set the duration of everything to a time value of 30 minutes. Remember, we made that a fixed value. The lower break is whatever is in the break field, minus 25 minutes, and the upper is plus 25 minutes. What do we do if the appointment times are still available? If the record count of that record set is 0, that means there are no appointments yet, then we do this part, else we do that part. And at the end we close the record set. If there are no records found yet, we do a do loop. If the date or the time we found is less than the lower break, or if it's higher equal to the upper break, then we add it to the combo box. Then we add the duration to I 30 minutes later, and we loop until I is greater than equal to whatever is in the end time box. Otherwise, if there are records found already, we may have to skip some. Find the first one in the field appoint time between the I value, and to make sure that it can really find that value, we subtract 5 seconds from it. Time values can be very specific, so we give it a little extra space, and I plus 5 seconds. If there is no match found, if there is no match at that time yet, if there is no appointment at that time yet, we add that appointment time to the list. It's still available. We add the duration again, and we loop until I is greater than equal to the end time. After choosing a new appointment, we have to add a new record to the subform. It's basically a simple one. We do that in the after update event, when the user has chosen a new appointment time. We set the focus on the subform. We go to the control appointment time. We go to a new record. Then in the subform, the form property of all the controls, the one that is called appoint time, put in there the CBO time, the time that was chosen in the combo box. In the control appoint date, we assign the date of the text appoint date. Then we set the focus on the CBO client, so the user can see that they should choose a client there. And we let that control drop down, so it's already open. If there are no new appointments in the past, then in the before update event, if the appointment date is today or tomorrow or in the future, we have to make sure that you cannot make new appointments in the past, of course. So if the text appointment date, which is a string, so convert it with a converter, cDate, if that is less than today's date, then we tell the user, sorry, no more new appointments on this date, because it's in the past. How do we make sure that the text appoint date does not update? Notice that it has a cancel option here. So we set cancel to true. That means it does not update, and it will just stop right there. Now we have to add maybe a new patient or a new client to the database. In the client combo box in the subform, there is a row source based on an SQL statement. Select the client ID, client name from the table clients, order by client name. So I can select from that drop-down box all the clients, and they are in an alphabetical order by client name. But if you type a new name that is not in the list, the not in list sub kicks in. It has two arguments that we have to use later on. Close your sub. We declare a variable of the record set type again. To a message box, we ask the user, do you want to add this client? We give them a yes, no option. If they say no, then we do this step. Otherwise, we do the other step. We add them. If they say no, then we use that response argument here. We set that to error continue, and we empty that combo entry. Otherwise, we set the error has been handled, make ORS point to the record set in the current database that is called table clients, and we open it as a dyna set. That means it's dynamic, so you can add things to the database. Add a new record, and in that new record make the client name field set to the new data. That is that argument. Don't forget to update the record and close the record set. Let's test it in the database. Here is the database with the main form, etc. We are now on 7/12. We have already a 10 o'clock appointment for Thames and Leah, so 10 o'clock should not be in the list anymore. Let's say someone wants to come at 2 o'clock. It added a new record, of course for Dr. 1, because we were on Dr. 1, unless we would go to another record. We can choose one of these people here. I'm going to choose John Kelly, and I'm going to add another appointment. You will see that 2 o'clock is out of the list. Let's say this person wants to be there at 10:30, and that is someone we haven't used yet. So I'm typing a name. At the moment I enter, it says I couldn't find that name yet. If I say no, it will empty the box here and you have to find an existing name. If you say yes, that person will be in the list from now on. Let's find out. Someone wants to come at 3 o'clock, and there is that new person we just created. There is much more to this. You can make it as complicated as you want. I think I gave you enough tools to get started and experiment with your own information. If you need more information, I would recommend 2 access tools I developed for you. They are on CDs. They have more than 1,500 slides each. The left CD tells you how to use VBA in Access. The right CD tells you how to deal with Access if you are not very familiar with Access. It's a great tool that you can find at mrexcel.com or amazon.com. If you go to either one of those or any other source, just type my name, Gerard Verschuren, and you will find all the tools and CDs and books I created for you. I wish you good luck and thank you for listening to this information.